when it comes as a request from the board.
Well, that would be a January thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can do that in January.
We could do
We'll add it in January. Let's
Okay.
just get this meeting
it. Okay.
Okay, so we're postponing moratorium?
Postpone.
Okay, we might need a motion for that.
Oh, motion postponed. Oh,
Is this putting us in a bind not doing this right now?
not really.
Not doing the moratorium? Do we have
No,
any
no,
other
there's-
land
no.
divisions?
We don't, it's just,
Okay.
if I get a land division request between now and January for parcels over 10 acres and it doesn't meet the 4:1 ratio, I'm again at the same crossroads.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
We're postponing.
Motion, and a second?
The second. I'll second. You're gonna vote on it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right.
Okay, here are my concerns. One, I know that we at some point agreed that we weren't satisfied, and this even happened before the ZBA meeting, we weren't satisfied with Matthew. And at that, even before then, you had mentioned the idea that we needed to find a different attorney, and you had mentioned Catherine. And there was some pushback about Catherine because Catherine isn't a land use attorney, and then we're paying Catherine to do research that a land use attorney would already know. Okay, the second concern I have, and this is the one that's really, there's two major concerns I have. One is that during a conversation we had during that ZBA meeting, you got up and left after the presentation, and you told some of us that the reason why you left was that your attorney recommended you leave. And your attorney is Catherine.
Well, not, I mean,
And
asked
Catherine,
Catherine.
if Catherine was operating as the township attorney, in that case, there is not a reason why the township attorney would say that the supervisor sitting in an audience of a ZBA meeting should get up and leave, that it wouldn't have happened. So there's a conflict of interest here because you're using Catherine as your personal attorney and you're using Catherine as our attorney. That's the big thing. And so I'm uncomfortable because it is a big conflict of interest for us to have this happen twice. I don't want to see it happen. I do think we need to get a different attorney to replace Matt. I know that Mariah has been mentioned. It's my understanding that Mariah does have some zoning administration experience and is more qualified in this case to do this. And then my second really big concern here is, while like you are an attorney, you are not our attorney. And it's very important that you separate your career as an attorney with what you do here, because again, that's a conflict of interest for us. And it creates a really messy tanglement. So you really have to be sure that when you are looking at things and making recommendations, you are not making recommendations as an attorney. And I know that's hard for you. I know it's hard, right? It's what you do all day long. It's been your job for years. But it's really important that we are that we understand what the conflicts of interest are here, and that we make sure that we set those boundaries up clearly.
okay. I'll go first. So when the ZBA hearing, so what I asked originally about Catherine was I needed a research attorney to do things that I did not have time to do. So she's not my attorney. Tony's used her as well for things. She is a township attorney. What Tony said was accurate. I have no idea what we want to do with like picking attorneys for the ZBA. Don't really care. It's not my thing. It's not like there's no power struggle between me and the board. We just need to figure these things out together. I look at something and I go, this is what I think, but I stop there and ask one of our attorneys. I'm not acting as our attorney. It's more like a, oh my God, what did you just give me? I don't know, this is like so Sri and I only look at something, for example. But, or Chuck, too. So I don't really see that as a problem, only because I just don't do that. I mean, I always do look at my own, my legal frame, but that always happens.
Well,
No, I'm still talking, and I got yelled at last time about it. So, that's that part. John has been looking, so, yes, you're correct, that even before all of this, we had talked about Matt. And John's actually been compiling a list of attorney firms that he thinks we should be looking at, one of which is from Kalamazoo that I actually liked. Two, when I saw them at the oh goodness, the planning and zoning thing I went to with everybody. Retreat. And so, the way I look at our attorneys, so from before, this is what Rick told me, I know like from you, it's like one of the reasons I changed everything when I first started was, before me, nobody got to talk to him. And from what I heard about Mr. Kingsley and how he got in the middle of you talking to an attorney, of course, one of the things was, nope, we all get to talk to an attorney, right? So, and the board hires and fires attorneys. But we, for all equal, can ask any of our attorneys the question that we have. I don't know if I told all you guys, but I really kind of just need to know date, maybe how long, so I can write it down for the bills. Other than that, perfectly fine. We do need to figure out what we're going to do, like all of us are going to do about, for example, I know John has brought up, we have to have more of a long conversation about how we're going to reduce some of the bills. Like, I don't know if you saw some of this, but Morningstar has cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I do think for ordinances, that Sri and I have at least an idea to approach you as to, like, okay, we work on it, and then we send it to the attorney, you know, that kind of thing. So that should save us a lot. Other than that, I guess that's all I really have. If right now I have 3 major attorneys to use, except, I mean, so we have Matt doing Matt's literally got 2 cases, and he hasn't filed the complaint in the second one, because he's been doing all these other things. He's also trying to help Sri with all of our ordinances. So, and I do think there's a giant mess up with the only one person at the ZBA instead of somebody that the ZBA like relies on and then someone else, you know, like that kind of thing. And honestly, I just literally picked the person who was closest. Although it sounds like the ZBA was like Claire instead, which is fine with me. So, but we should come up with that. I mean, like, I'm not giving up the right to use an attorney. I don't think any of you guys want to, since you just never had it before. I had heard that the reason that all this happened a long time ago is because literally everybody was calling the attorney, like every person on every board, and they were asking me, that's what Rick said, everybody on every board. So, I mean, I don't want to do that, so I kind of need us to get along, figure out like, okay, if the ZBA wants something, if the PC wants something, if someone else wants something, like, should it just be the chair, or?
Excuse me, Mike, we need a policy.
Well, yeah, that's fine, so we do need a policy, all I'm saying, we do need a policy.
I agree with you that we need a policy,
Right.
because right now what it looks like is, if Sri wants to call the attorney, she has to get your approval to do it. And that makes it look like you have to look at it like you're an attorney and decide whether or not you can make that decision or the attorney makes that decision, and that's where the boundary isn't clear.
Right.
That might not be the intention,
Well, that's not
but that's where the boundary isn't
Well, and
clear.
that's not, we've never really done it that way. Free's always come to me and then, because I don't even know half the time when she calls. So.
Sri's memo is pretty good on that point.
So,
Yeah.
but, so, yeah, no, I'm not, oh goodness, not, that's like a board decision based on when we talk about the amount and what we want to do to get that amount down.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, but yes, I do think we need a policy, like everything else. So, just doing, I mean, honestly, this place runs on practice, if that makes sense, right? So, go ahead.
May I ask you a question? I think you started to explain what attorneys we have working,
Yeah.
and you started with Matt, and that was in.
Oh, yeah, sorry, so we have, right now, we've got pretty much anyone from Fayette, right? We are using like Lizzie for the, goodness, working on the employment
We asked her
manual.
for an
Employee manual,
Tell
and obviously we have Matt for, helping Tree, and then, litigation stuff. Catherine has basically been research questions that are strange, including the one tonight, very strange. And, then Mariah right now, so Mariah's done a lot of things for us in the past, from what I heard. She used to do ZBA work, she's done an appeal from ZBA things at the circuit court. So but right now, we're only using her for, tickets. Like, so, oh, and I did ask her to ask, just because everyone was busy, I asked her to look at that one contract that you guys had me sign after, the stuff for O'Neill. But, so, and I honestly, like, I don't know anything about, I have no personal knowledge of her as an attorney. This is kind of the same way I have no personal knowledge of Claire, we do have Claire, who helped Matt. Matt did not want to continue on the ZBA, that's why Claire was there, so if that's okay, that's fine with me. So, but, anyway, okay, sorry.
And you still have four, so that's the three lawyers that you want to follow.
That's, yeah, so, right.
So let's address then the issue of Catherine giving you some sort of personal legal advice as it relates to,
That was the get my butt out of the room advice that any one of us should have done, would have done.
no, I don't think so. I don't think if I went as a trustee to
I-
our attorney, our township attorney, and said, as a township trustee, is there a reason why I should get up and leave when this presentation happens? This was a conflict of interest because this was your wife presenting. And that's why she told you to get up and leave, but I didn't feel like that discussion or that advice was township focused. I felt like that was you personally focused.
That was focused on the township supervisor not being in the room to influence the decision of the ZBA, which is kind of why Jeff, and Tom's not here or whatever, but why they don't want me to talk at the planning commission meetings necessarily, because it's very difficult for me to like look at people, you know. So that was, I would have done it anyway, I guess. So, it was more along the, you know, get out before the decision making, which is, I think, a totally appropriate comment. Because I understand, I'm not just a human sitting in the back of a room, ever, apparently. So, so Chuck keeps going, like, no. So anyway, so that was that, but.
Can I say something?
You can, sure.
One of the things that I want to make sure that we're doing is when we have attorneys brought to the board and we approve them, it's usually for a specific purpose. And as we had mentioned, and Mariah was one that's been here, but she normally has a specific purpose of those ordinances or whatnot. And we found out about that, I don't know, a couple of years ago when we had a bill and we're like, why, who is this? I mean, I knew who she was, but why are we getting a bill from her? And the same thing with Faye Schultz or Catherine. The situation is, like we talked about Catherine, you asked for her to do research. Anything outside of that scope has costs. And so using any of those attorneys for something different than what we approved them for is something that we need to have discussion on. it's just like when we were talking about a change order with our construction. That's a change order, because there are going to be costs associated. Talking about an employee handbook, having them do an employee handbook. I have questions. This is something new to me. I have questions with regards to that. Not that we don't need one or an update or stuff like that, but we also have MTA, so are we not utilizing them? And I get you don't agree with some of their stuff.
Oh, no, they just don't have some of the things that are specific.
I'm just saying, but when we talk about this, an employee handbook is not gonna be cheap. This isn't something that we're talking about approving a lawsuit, but they're gonna spend thousands of dollars to do an employee handbook. Anything that we have an attorney put together, if we had them do a presentation on something, it would be expensive. And so I think any of those kind of things, we need to talk about. When we talk about stuff going on, like here, like if the furnace goes out and you need to do something, that's a cost that everybody's okay with. But these are elective costs. Not that they don't need to get done, but they're not an emergency that needs to get done at any specific time. And we need to talk. I mean, we're trustees here, we're board members, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to know what those costs are. And we can't just go and I get having everybody have access to the attorney and asking questions. Everybody can start calling. I could see that happening, depends on what they're calling for. But the thing is, when we're giving them, or going outside of the scope on what the board has hired them for, just because they're on our payroll, we shouldn't be doing that. We need to know when they're doing something outside of that scope and approve it. Just like we do any other costs that we do.
Okay. One thing is that we did approve redoing the employee handbook. It's been a while.
I don't know, a long time ago.
It may have been a long time. I'm just using that as an
No,
example.
I totally understand it. So,
Okay.
John.
So, for years, we've had 3 law firms, and I've been sitting here listening to you guys talk about individual lawyers. That's not the way I think about this. I think about this as us having law firms. And our law firm is Fahey. It has been for many years, and I am totally open to going out for proposals from lots of different law firms. But I believe that we should have one primary law firm that is focused on municipal law and all the aspects of municipal law. Fahey has more than 40 attorneys. They have some great attorneys and they have some not great attorneys. Some of them know the answers without doing research. Some of them you're paying for hours and hours of research. And it's up to us to be prudent consumers of that service to make sure that we're getting the lawyer that is good at that issue and that we're not having many hours. The email that Tony sent out today was heartbreaking to me because it's a great example of legal representation that is ineffective and inefficient, in my opinion. So we've had 3 firms. Fahey is the primary firm. The Fink firm has only ever been handling traffic court for us, period. And we use Miller Canfield because they have a lawyer that specializes in land preservation, and they do all of our PDR work. PDR, yeah. So I'm very uncomfortable with these discussions where we're talking about one attorney versus another. I don't have a great opinion of Matt, and I wish that we had Chris or somebody else. But Lizzie is outstanding in every aspect of employee benefits. Not just a handbook. She could talk to us about insurance. She gives presentations all around the state on this topic, on these topics. So if we're going to go out and find a law firm, we should go out and interview half a dozen different law firms that specialize in municipal law and pick one.
I guess just following on John's comment, yeah, there are law firms that could support our work. I think it's also contingent on us and the supervisor to work with that law firm, and I expressed this to you before in another meeting, I don't know when it was, 6 months ago, that you need to talk with them and manage them and say, hey, Matt is not serving the purposes and serving our community as we would like. Do you have someone else that can work with us? And have that question, have that crucial conversation. And either they do or they don't. And that other person may have a higher rate, and we may say, okay, we're gonna take that because it should result in less hours, or, who knows how it'll work out. But, just to say, well, we're frustrated with, have we had conversations with their managing partners? And if we haven't, you can't just say you're fired if you don't have that conversation. I mean, you can do it, but that isn't the proper way to go about it. So I would ask, have you had those conversations? If you haven't, will you?
I would, yeah. And that was part of, again, another one of those, some of you would before, and again, change your mind anytime you want. Not you say, versus should we ask for another person? It was never really made particularly clear what the majority wanted. So, but I can certainly figure that, it was depending on who's talking to me at what particular time, not in here, out there. Yeah, it's just never been, I've never had a majority tell me one or the other. Because frankly, there's 6 of you, and you had never really expressed an opinion, but the rest of the people had, one way or another, and it never really matched. So I don't have a problem with asking Chris for another person. We do have other people they give us for other people.
Having a conversation with our legal counsel is a normal function of a good relationship. That's standard. It happens all the time.
Right.
Whether the board gives you that, obvious direction or not, you can say, hey, Matt, gosh, why did you charge us 3 hours on this? And, or whatever the case or the issue you have, that it's perfectly normal to talk with their managing partners to say, hey, we're not happy. How can you help us? And they may say, oh, geez, yeah, Matt's been struggling. We'll pull him off your account. We'll give you so-and-so. That's not changing law firms. That's not, that's just expressing that we need better service. And then, when we put a proposal out for law firm, legal counsel, they'll say, oh gosh, yeah, they talked to us last month and they weren't happy. At this point, they have no idea.
May I?
Yes.
So, I was not in the office on Thursday last week because I took advantage of training that was given by our attorney's firm, Fahey, in Okemos. And I was there with them for about 7 hours last Thursday, and it was painful. The training was outstanding. I learned a lot, but it was painful because from the moment I walked in the door until the moment I left, attorney after attorney after attorney were asking me, what's going on in your township? What's going on with you guys? It's not my place to answer those kind of questions. They want to know.
In what context, John? Just to see what's going on, like that.
Well, I would imagine that the 2 attorneys that were here on the Friday night ZBA meeting went back and told stories inside their firm. And then,
So it's in respect to that occurrence?
I don't know. I didn't really want to engage.
Okay. I'd just like to know what the context is. Are they saying that we're running off the rails on everything? Are they saying, well, we've got obvious issues with
The
this
only reason I
one?
mentioned that was because I wanted to reinforce what Dan was just saying, that it's a normal course of business to have routine conversations with your law firm and to push back on them and to make sure that we get the product that we're paying for.
Well, I compiled that and I was surprised. I was
That's
shocked.
a great example of us not getting the product of what we're paying for.
Well, I'm a resident of this township. My gosh, how much money in my taxes, not that we've collected anything.
It's a civil infraction, for God's sake.
Has gone to, and we are nowhere on that issue right now. So, I don't know.
I do have a comment. I promise I'll keep it to like 2 seconds. Yeah, okay, right. What is the history with Fate? How did we end up there? We've been with them forever. Now, if we do shift, they do know us. And if there's other attorneys there, you could argue the transition cost may be less there. I echo just about everything you said, John. The way you run this, let's send out a proposal, and maybe we find other competent firms that have all these skill sets, attorneys can interact. And I think could also then be a lower cost solution.
So we
Well,
used to have.
Rick, what's the history?
What's that?
When did we hire Fahey the first time?
I don't remember. It's been quite a while.
Decades?
What's that? No.
Decades?
John hired?
So we used to have Reading Matter
Right.
in Ann Arbor. And Fahey came in and they did a search and they interviewed 3 or 4 firms. I think 09, 10, 11, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
So it's been 30 years. No, 20 years.
20.
I'm sorry. Who keeps track of the numbers here?
Right, so that's one high level comment. I echo a bunch of the comments that have made. But I think the conflict of interest stuff that Shelley was saying is obvious, and I think that's easily handleable. If you have the skill set to do that, be nice if that question doesn't come up anymore. It's my high level discussion. And so after the ZBA meetings, I did call Chris Patterson. I felt like it was going off. I thought there was concerns. I had questions generally on the law. I haven't been thrilled when I call MTA. I get a couple of answers, and they're quick to tell you, call your attorney. Right? Which changed. I used to be off topic. I used to be a big proponent of MTA. That's changed. But Chris did offer. I told him his concerns with Matt. And I had concerns with Matt also. We talked about this 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I guess Chris is the managing partner there now, and he responded the same way you did. And we can pull out that and bring somebody else in, and we can discuss if we want to change or whatever. I really get to see your point. But I think where we're at, sending out a proposal and reevaluating all that, and then making sure we know what attorney has what job, is going where they should. On the bills, I couldn't agree more. When you look at all the bills, my biggest concern, I used to do legal work in the maritime sector, expert witness for years. As soon as you start seeing bills where everybody's hitting the file for 5 or 6 minutes, 12 minutes, because most of the bills that concocted here, there was only a handful of entries that were a couple of hours, which I'm actually happy to pay. I don't want to have, I'm suspect of the attorneys that hit us for, point 2 this, point 2 that, with a nebulous discussion, and we're not getting resolution on these topics and things are growing. The way it's general counsels, used to GM, Ford, Kawasaki Motors, they would ask for budgets on these. And those budgets had to be met. So that's one way you stop the road billing. Because right now, if they think we're not watching, what they'll do, everybody's tagging the file. And we're going to get a bill every month for 15 or 20 grand. Ultimately, then, without an objective of where we're getting. Now, it can vary. Things come up in lawsuits, right? And you got to deal with it, and costs go up. But it's in the context of, especially when it's research related, you can hit a budget and say, this is what you have. It's not open-ended and giving us. Anyway.
Well, and for that, if anyone has an idea how to stop this,
Let's talk about this
this is
in
just.
closed session. Other than discussing.
Yeah, because that would be
what we've got to, you know, what we've got on our plate to do, and I think we've decided that we need to compile a list of firms, maybe interview them, maybe go back and do what was done,
Absolutely.
you
Oh,
know,
it's
back
fine.
then. And decide who will do what and when and.
It almost sounds like we're in agreement, you know, so, and
Yeah.
all that couched in a policy, as to how we're gonna interact.
Right.
My general, I don't want to, I want you three. If something comes up, or you guys, if something comes up, you want our guidance, especially big when the bills get big,
Yeah,
then I think that's our fiduciary responsibility.
yeah, and I think we need to, I think when it comes to this, we need to do it in closed session.
Yeah, I'll be specific, yes, absolutely.
And let's just stop right here.
And that's it? I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, closed session. We should do closed session.
Does there have to be a motion?
There has to be a motion.
We would be wise to reference the appropriate MCL.
We would.
Are we?
As well as the purpose of going into closed session.
I don't think I'm going
Okay.
to see some of you guys
Right.
until
Oh.
next year.
Oh, yeah, thanks for, I saw that on my desk. I'm like,
Yeah. I do want to say,
Back in the
I will be
box.
gone the last 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yours is, December 22nd, we're going on. Longview family vacation. Woo! So, happy holidays.
You too. Well, I'll see you.
Some people already got theirs.
And
Yeah.
and there will be food on the
All
end.
at your desk.
Sorry.
Thanks, Rick.
So nice.
All right, here's what we got.
Thank you.
I will
Make
move.
it straight. Sorry, Joe.
No, no, you're good. I will move to enter a closed session at 10:30 pursuant to MCL 15.268, subsection 1H, MCL 15.268, and E, to discuss a confidential written legal opinion from one of the township attorneys, and to consult with the township attorney regarding the employee health care ordinance.
Thanks, Bill.
As discussion in open session would have a detrimental financial effect on the position of the township board. Second. Okay, for discussion. Okay, all in favor?
You
Aye.
have to do a roll call vote, you need 5 to go into closed session.
Okay, roll call.
Aye.
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 Okay. Closed session. All right, Peter, we don't have the other door open yet. The other-
Thanks, Peter.
Nice roll.